Now, the rest of the story.
I'm pretty well wrapped up for the day. It's still wet and cold and damp and kind of chilly out yet. So Carl asked me how I like the 360 waves in the planter. So I figured I'd say something about it real quick, which I gotta be careful what I say because I've only ran 15 acres through the planter so far. But initial opinions on these, at first, was that they like to drag residue. Secondly, is it's easy to plug these fertilizer lines, which ultimately boils down to it was plugging up the residue because the trash row cleaners weren't properly set, plus we weren't running at operating speed. Operating speed is 3 miles plus. We were running at 1.5 because we were trying to get the row pressures and everything set on that. Another thing too is when the soil wasn't exactly super duper dry, you get that damp dirt, you can actually kick up mud and build up, just partly due because the residue was building up, it was plugging up, and it was resulting in dirt building up and getting into these lines. So row 7 and row 12, according to the red ball system that's up in front of the tank here, ended up getting backed up, which I'm not putting any liquid down with the planter so far. It was just me wanting to flush it out and make sure that none of the rows were plugged, which ultimately I tried sticking a small piece of wire up in this hole and resulted in me shoving the dirt up in farther and didn't really cure the issue. It wasn't entirely plugged off, but it was definitely restricted because when there's no restriction, there's nothing blocking it, that'll actually shoot the liquid. I mean, it'll basically clear this little tab right here and it's shooting it straight out, and that's with the pump set to max, of course. And as of right now on those 2 rows, it was just dribbling out. So what I ended up doing is took the air hose off the connection up there and I threw blew air through it and cleaned them out, which I don't think it'll be an issue. Now knowing to, well, basically just getting used to it and getting everything set, and then being able to drop in while driving forward and dropping it down and not having that build-up issue. So as the door is open on the 569, was kind of looking it over, trying to get an idea about what I may or may not have to do to this thing. I'm still on the fence as to whether or not I'm going to replace all the belts, some of the belts, the belt dividers up there that keep the belts from overlapping on each other. I do see at least 2 that are starting to be worn through, which if they run too long, then you run the issue of the belts overlapping each other and just creating all sorts of headache. I don't need the net wrap, I don't need the monitor in the 76, or I don't need to hook the 82 or the 46 up to it just to run it. The baler will still function, but I'm going to go through and run it, listen to it, and roller chains on it. I am going to go through and just change. The one that's going to hurt the most is the one on the far side, because it's like $400 to replace this guy. Being careful because I don't need to hurt anything. This long, my flashlight out. This long chain, I think it's 80. At least I want to say it's 80. It is worn, and the plan is to just swap it out so I can start fresh. I'll keep the roller chain. Ooh. Actually, I don't know. Actually, it's loose. I do have that synthetic John Deere, you guys can't see anything, chain lube. I'll go through like I always do, and once we're done using it, I'll blow it off, get all the residue off of it, and then while the chains are still warm, I hit it with that dry lube and see how I like that. So the big thing is just going to be checking and making sure all the bearings aren't getting excessively warm to where I need to go ahead and just change them out. Granted, looks like that one's already been changed, which the 566 has issues like that in it also. There's a few more bells and whistles on this that I'm not used to, like the bale kicker. I'm not even sure what we're looking at up there. Never ran it before, but I'm sure it's more sensors and whatnot to make sure that the baler is running optimally. And I do have exposed wires right here. Looks to me like it was rubbing on the power takeoff, so I gotta either heat shrink or I could wrap it in black tape, which unfortunately is probably what will end up happening, but at the same time I don't like doing that. Looks to me, oh, it's got what, the variable core valve on it, which I won't use. What I'll end up doing though is maxing out the pressure, because I'm going for as much material slammed into my bales that we're making as possible. Up to 1,500 pound bales is what I'm looking for. I get north of 1,500 pounds, and then it starts becoming an issue as to whether or not you can get them sold. Roll of net wrap came with the baler, which is fine. I'm not seeing anything wrong with it. I mean, I already have the caps on the end, because otherwise this would be a cover edge roll if the net wrap was coming all the way out. So it does have these caps on it that go into the end of the rolls on each end, which keeps it centered where it needs to be. I'm going to try running this out. If we can't get it run out on this baler, I'll put it in the 566 and I'll try running it out. Rust isn't your friend, I feel, on basically any machine that makes any type of bale. I think this is really going to be nice too, which it's the little things that make you happy. But we got the top storage rack for another roll of net wrap, which is nice because we are putting on the 4 rolls of wrap. Oops, my bad. We're putting on the 4 rolls of wrap on our bales, so we do go through a little bit more net wrap than normal. Probably really wasn't too good for it either, but it's fine. And then I think it's going to be kind of fun to, once we actually get this baler up and running and, you know, baling with confidence, cutting hay with confidence, raking with confidence, making hay with confidence will be big. It'll be nice. It'll be a big stress reliever, ideally. So once we get it running and know that any potential bugs in the system are worked out of it, I think we'll be really happy. Ryan's got a few more acres of hay this year. My hay acres, it's no less than last year. It hasn't gone up. I lost some ground, but I also seeded down a little bit of my own, which I guess I can go ahead and say that I'm down like 2 acres year over year, because what little bit I added. But at the same time, the valley, I cleaned up the bottom like I did and opened up some of those low-lying areas, which ultimately should kind of average me out. So that's all I got for this video, guys. I'm hoping to give more of a impressive review on the waves and the reveal system as we go here, as we plant. But it looks to me like we're a few days out yet. We got not quite, well, it was 4/10 of rain. At least that's what I had in the rain gauge up here at the home farm. But it's how fast we got it, which we got way more than what the ground could handle. So we end up getting a fair amount of runoff. Like my driveway, even the driveway at the home farm, has a little bit of washing on it. So get those taken care of, and if it doesn't dry out, I got the time for it. I guess we'll start looking at this guy. Until next time, I'll talk to you later.